Hi, and welcome everybody to the. Sorry, I'm a little nervous here. So first, I'm going to thank everyone around the world for your support. To us at Israel here in this time. We are the Hebrew-speaking Three Principles community. We're part of the 3PGC, the global community, the Three Principles, that is committed to bring an understanding of Sydney Banks to the world. We have today, Jenny and I will be introducing Dickin and Derek. Rachel Foreman will be translated in Hebrew. You can join that room. Masha Lashenko is introducing and translating in Russian. I'm just going to read a short bio. Dickin Benninger received his doctorate in counseling psychology and has worked during his career as a licensed clinical psychologist. Dickin's entire career has focused on psychological well-being. In 1986, he met Sydney Banks, who shared a profound new understanding of the human mind called the Three Principles that unifies our connection to a deeper intelligence called wisdom and our psychological nature. While living in Vermont, Dickin co-founded one of the Three Principles trainings, consulting, and educating centers. Later, Dickin served as a senior staff at Pransky Associates at LeConner, Washington, for 16 years, where he developed and led corporates and university leadership training, team development, and cultural transformation. In 2012, Dickin founded his private practice, Three Principles Mentoring. He offers 4-day immersion retreats for individuals, practitioners, development, and adventure training programs. He enjoys leading groups, seminars in the US and Europe. Dickin is a co-author of the book on the Three Principles called Coming Home, which is also translated into Hebrew. Overcoming the foundations of psychological well-being. Dickin has been happily married since 1969. He has 2 adult children, 4 adored grandchildren. He enjoys people of all ages, photography, hiking, canoeing, and exploring art, culture, and new places in his travels. Dickin, Derek Mason, which is here as well, has been involved in the Three Principles since 2017, where he made a profound impact on his life. While serving a prison sentence, he was impacted by the truth and simplicity within the Sydney Banks literature, as well as love and trust of Jacqueline Hallows and the Beyond Recovery team, where he got a true glimpse into himself, enabling him to have better understanding of others and see love and innocence in us all. And it is because of it, Derek was able to see the true potential within himself, which had only ever been limited by his own thinking. Derek was released from prison in August 2018, where he found the principles still played its part in impacting his life, and which led him to reconnect with Beyond Recovery team. This gave him the opportunity to be a guest speaker of the 3P UK conference and Beyond Recovery. Jenny Gittelband is a trained psychotherapist and a coach that helps people get from stress and burnout to creative, tailor-made career and life. I'm sorry I'm messing this up, Jenny. I love you. I am a 3 Principles practitioner, a life coach, and I help people to get of the other side of mental health. Jenny, would you like to tell us a little about the logistics that are gonna take us through today?
Okay, yeah. I want to thank also Rachel Foreman that is here with us. And she's the 3rd board member of the Hebrew 3P, the Hebrew community. And she's a beautiful woman that lives in the United States, and she's the coach of the 3 Principles. And we're going to have our guests today, Derek and Deacon, to speak about the topic of peace of mind and common sense in the face of danger and fear. We are going to have 45 minutes of a talk and I think a deeper understanding of this possibility. And then we're going to have, I think, 10 minutes break. If we will need a little bit more, we will take it. And then we will have time for questions or sharings that you will be invited to write in the chat box, and we will be happy to communicate with you. Thank you, everybody, for coming in the Russian language, in Hebrew, in English, to support peace, love, and hope. Thank you, Derek. Thank you, Deacon. Thank you, Deborah. Thank you, Marina.
Eric, do you want me to jump in, or would you like to start off? You're muted. Okay. Thank you all for coming. Let me just say, first of all, my heart and prayers are going out to everyone who lives in the dark, lives under the dark, dark shadow of violence. And please know that I love you deeply and wish nothing but the very best for you. I've always been interested, from when I was very young, in people who are in extremely difficult circumstance and somehow manage to rise to the occasion and find peace within, and more importantly, to find love and compassion in their hearts and live in those situations from that place. I thought it was only possible for certain very exceptional people. But the good news is it's available to every single one of us, this place within where unbelievable things are possible, where peace of mind is possible even in the worst of circumstances, where love cannot be damaged or diminished. This is the good news. I like to think of it this way: as some people call this space within. Some people call that space our heart. So we talk about going from our head to our heart. Some people call that space our soul. Some people call that space the meeting ground where the human meets the divine, where God flows through us and can lift our spirits and bring us love and peace in ways we didn't know possible. That's the power of the divine. Sometimes I like to think of this space within us as the drop-in center that is open 24/7. And there's no bouncer at the door. As a matter of fact, there's no door. And it's open to anyone. It's all inclusive. There's no one that is denied entrance to this peace center, this heart center. But we cannot get into this center by thinking. We cannot think our way to peace of mind. We can't think our way to happiness. We cannot think our way to the common sense we need to be able to guide us through very dangerous and difficult situations. So there's one requirement for dropping into this center, is that we need to temporarily let go of everything we're thinking. You know what that's called? It's very ordinary, and we do it all the time. It's called being fully present. It's the easiest thing in the world. We're a thought away from being fully present at any moment. We can't think and be present at the same time. And there have been a lot of names for what we enter or what's here when we let go of all of our thinking. What's still here? What's still here? Well, there's this, we can be aware of what's still here. It's this alive essence. That's why some people call it our soul. It's the doorway to the divine. What do I mean by that? That when any of us, anywhere in the world, fall out of all of our thinking temporarily, that in itself is a relief and feels better, because we're letting go of all the thoughts that are creating fear and worry and upset and judgments, and we're becoming free of that thinking temporarily. We're all free thinkers. I've learned over and over and over again that when I'm feeling afraid, that if I do more thinking, it feeds the fear with more fearful thinking. Innocently. It's very interesting. Most adults, when they feel upset or stressed, innocently do more thinking because they haven't been taught about the free space, the soul, the wisdom space, the heart. Now there are people all over the world. I was fortunate to find a teacher that every word was pointing us within, beyond our personal thinking, to this quiet that's always there within, to this peace that's always there within. That when we touch this space beyond our judgments, beyond our personal thinking, beyond our egos, it awakens something in our hearts. It opens the doorway to divine powers. We're all connected to the divine in this space. That's how it's possible for us, when we're really upset, to become focused in a loving way on someone. And in those moments, we don't experience fear, we experience love or compassion. It's built into everyone to be able to let go of fear and awaken love and bring that love into the world and to give it away to other people. Now, I have experienced directly what it is like to live in the shadow of war. One time I spent an extended period of time in a war zone, terrified, like I've never felt or experienced before in my life. Terrified. I woke up one night in the fetal position crying. I had machine guns in my chest. I had shooting going on all around me. I was not a soldier. I was a civilian. Bombs going off all around me. I thought I would never see my wife and kids ever again. And then, by grace, I touched that center. I dropped out of my fearful thinking into this heart space. And I realized that I had a choice at any moment between holding on to and thinking fearful thoughts or letting them go and experiencing a warmth and a connection and finding even a little glimmer of that and bringing it to life by bringing warmth and kindness to someone else. And as we bring warmth and kindness to other people, it fans that flame within us. The spark, the divine spark, gets stronger and stronger within us and flows through us more and more freely. This is an ancient teaching. It's at the heart of every religion. That in order to experience love, we need to let go of judgmental thoughts, our fearful thoughts, to return to the now, the present moment, to rest wide open and receptive to the divine forces of love and wisdom. My teacher, Sydney Banks, would say, it's very, very simple. Look within, go beyond your ideas and concepts, beliefs, personal thinking. There's a quiet that's always there underneath all that thinking. It's always there. It's divine silence. Touch that be aware of that space within, of that quiet. Be aware of the feeling within that space, because there's always a beautiful feeling in that space. Be aware of that feeling. And when you touch that feeling, bring it into the world, bring it alive, give it away, help others, smile, be kind to others, give a hand, loving kindness, be of service to others. Focus on bringing love into the world. It's the only way we can truly overcome fear, because you can't experience love and fear at the same time. This is extremely practical. Extremely practical. There's not a situation where we're not capable of stepping into this drop-in center, waking up at the heart, even in the midst of terror and violence going on all around us. The soul cannot be damaged by what happens outside of us. The heart, the true heart, the spiritual heart, cannot be damaged by what happens outside of us. And it's alive and well within every single human being. I'm not trying to teach you anything here. I'm just reminding you of what has been part of the wisdom tradition, the wisdom teachings in every culture for centuries. This teaching is alive, and now it's coming forward more and more and more. And it has become available to everybody. So that's the, I wanted to share with you the only thing I found that's helped me to deal with the most difficult circumstances in my life is learning about this beautiful, loving, uplifting, wise drop-in center. Derek?
Rachel needs a short break. And if Masha can continue for 1 second, I will say something in Hebrew. I will start in English and translate into Hebrew. Rachel will have a break. Thank you. You're beautiful. We're talking about presence and
wow,
in Hebrew.
Thank you for that, Dickens.
Thank you so much.
That was amazing. Once again, well, firstly, I want to say thank you, everyone, for turning up and showing up in this space and looking in this direction. And
Two seconds,
even
seconds, Derek.
The circumstances or the reason why we...
Two seconds, Derek. We have 2 seconds break before we will introduce you and you will continue. I will give Rachel 5-minute break and I will speak in English, translate to Hebrew, and Masha will translate to Russian, and then we will continue. Thank you so much. I was hearing you, Deacon, about presence, and there are 2 words in Hebrew for presence. אני מספרת שדיקן דיבר על נוכחות, ויש 2 מילים בעברית לנוכחות. אחת, נוכחות, כמו שאנחנו כותבים אותה, נוח פלוס כוח. It's to be in ease plus having power. It's in two words that means presence, ease and power. And the other word for presence is havaya, to be in presence. And if we switch one letter from being in havaya, is being in the name of God. So dropping into the divine, dropping in ease in a powerful way is an ancient understanding. Thank you so much. אני אגיד בקצרה בעברית שהמילה נוכחות שדיקן דיבר עליה עד עכשיו בעצם מזכירה לנו את האפשרות להיות בנינוחות ובנוח ביחד מהאפשרות להחזיק כוח, להחזיק עוצמה, כן? או להיות בהוויה, שאם אנחנו לוקחים את הייעוד ומעבירים אותה קצת מקום, אנחנו בעצם מאפשרים לנו להיות בתוך שם השם, כן? בתוך האלוהים. וזאת ההזמנה של דיקן. Thank you so much. It is so simple when we just understand behind the words. And we can just feel the invitation that is in front of us. אני אתרגם לעברית האפשרות להיות מוזמנים למקום הזה תמיד נמצאת שם. Another thing that came up is that the word presence combines inside of itself in the name of God. The past, the present, and the future, which all there is the divine. Yeah. In the now. בתוך ההוויה, יש לנו את העבר, את ההווה, ואת מה שאפשרי כשאנחנו בהוויה. Thank you. Rachel, you okay? Thank you so much. Derek, thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. That was so beautiful. That was so beautiful. Thank you. And it brought to me the presence, just got me so present. And to know that that's where all the beauty is. That's the divinity. That's where we tune into it. That's when we can connect with it and feel it and drop into it, the drop-in center that's always there. I love that, Dickin. I love that. And I just want to say thank you for everyone for showing up. And like I said, certain circumstances have brought us together in this meeting here, but we can look through that. We can sort of look through that and tune into some of that same divinity that we're talking about. Because for me, that divinity, that space and that presence is something that I never really thought was available to me. I'd never even looked in that direction for anything. And I would have thought I was someone that would have said is the exception to that. And I've never really been in any war situation or any terrifying situation like the one Dickens was expressing, but I know feelings of fear. I know feelings of deep fear. And I know what direction I used to look when I was faced with those feelings. I didn't believe there was anything else in me, any other answer. I think the title of this talk just says it so well. That peace of mind. That peace of mind that's available to us all the time. When it seems, sometimes it can seem so far away. But for me personally, once I glimpsed it, I felt the realness of it. And I knew that our circumstances, our situations, like you said, Jenny, the past, our past, or what we expect of the future. No, if we can glimpse the divine, the now, what's available to us now, that's where it all happens. And it took for me to glimpse it once, not even in its full glory, just a little glimpse, to realize my circumstances don't have to denote who I am or how I show up. Seeing a piece of that divinity and seeing that I've always had it, it's always been in me. And the more I see it in me, the more I can see it in other people, even through their actions. And just feeling that and knowing that is something that's tried to keep me pointed to the present. Because it's so hard, so easy to get caught up in the past and what the future might look like, judging from the past. But if we can just try to stay present in every moment. If I stay present now, that's the job done for now. It's the next moment. Can I stay present in the next moment? Can I tune into that divinity? And I love when it's like it's something that I learn or a teachings, but it's something that I am, something that I've always been. Feeling it and knowing it and being it, that's it for me. And like I said, certain circumstances, I'm just so glad there's so much love in this room. I can feel it. Because that again is a word that I wouldn't have been too comfortable with before. But I know I am that. You all are that. And there's no exception. There's like 8 billion people on this planet. And for 40 odd years, I thought I was an exception. I thought love had rerouted or devoided from my direction. But I've come to realize I am it. We all are it. No exceptions. When we drop into that space, that peace of mind, that divinity, that presence, that now, all we feel is that love. All we become is that love. And all the answers that we've always ever been looking for come from that space of love. So often I'll get caught up in the confusion of the feeling of what I thought I had to do or what other people thought was right to do. But when we tune into that another word in that title, that common sense, it's common because we've all got it. In that moment, in the now, that is who we truly are. And for me, I found just looking in this direction is all I really need to do. That divinity, that universe, that spirituality, whatever you want to call it, that takes care of the rest. I just have to keep looking. And sometimes I look in and it's dark and I can't see nothing. But I just stay looking. Because I know I was lost in the wilderness for 40 odd years. Lost, not even looking in any direction, any right direction. But I still managed to find the light. The light still managed to find me. Because it was always there, it's always been me. So in my time of confusion, when I weren't looking in that direction, now all we have to do is look in that direction. And the answers will come to us through love, through presence, not through who we think we have to be, or what we think we have to do, or what we think other people have to do. It all starts with us, with me. I didn't even know what I could bring to this talk here. Because I think into my head thinking I've never experienced, I've never been in certain situations. But that's taking me away from myself again. Because from I got on the call, before you guys even turned up, they were talking about how the call's gonna go. And just the feeling of love just came on me, reminded me of who I was, and reminded me of what I can bring to this. Just by showing up from that space. And it might be a timely reminder for somebody just to know that that drop-in space is always there for them. It's okay. Sometimes we get caught up, sometimes we don't see it. Sometimes we want to follow. But when we follow what's inside of ourselves, that truth inside of us, we unwittingly lead from that space from within. And the change that we might have been looking to bring about through other endeavors, when we drop into that space, that change manifests. What we think it would look like, or we wouldn't want it to look like. Since I've got this understanding, I've seen wonders beyond my belief. Wonders beyond my belief, and most of them have come from me. And to other people, you might say, oh, that's mundane, or okay, it's a big deal, so you work with them, or big deal, you do this. But to me, that's stuff beyond my wildest dreams, answers that come from nowhere. Didn't look like the answers that I had previously thought were possible. Those answers are within us all. We all have that. There's no exception. That divine, that touches us all, that blesses us all. That space that we can drop into at any time. It's when the feeling, when you have that feeling and it holds you, you know you're in that space. You know that space is possible under any circumstances. And that's, for me, that is where the strength comes. When we get taken out of our bandwidth, when we get taken out of the zones, what we're used to, when we get taken out of that, let's see what we can see new. So I've always looked to the old. When we get taken out of that usual, our comforts, and it's not nice. But how do we get back to that feeling? By knowing anything outside of us any circumstances, any situation doesn't have to reflect how we are inside. We can be the peace in the storm. We can be the calm. We all have that potential. To speak from a space of love, speak from a place of divinity, we just have to see it in ourselves. See it in ourselves, we feel it in ourselves. We admit it to others. I never thought I could be, not a beacon, but I never thought I could be somebody that could talk and somebody hears something and it makes them feel lighter or gives them a different perspective on life. Because like Dickin alluded to, we're all connected, every single one of us on this planet, through that divinity, through that peace. That's who we are. And the answers we look for are all within us. If we take care of ourselves in that moment. This understanding is something that has affected me on all different levels of my life. And it affected people around me as well. And that's not in the way that I would have thought it would have worked. The strength, the power, the love that I can see I'm capable of. And I can see it in every single one of you. Take it, you're here following a feeling. That same feeling you're following is in me. It guides me. When we get present and in that state, it can guide all of us. We're all going to the same place, but it just happens to look different for all of us. But we can all take the same route there. No exceptions. We were all blessed and born with this. The more we see how much we can do as individuals when we get settled and we get calm and we draw for our common sense and we understand our divinity and we stay present in every moment. Every moment is new. So I try to bless every moment with a new thought. Presence. And, you know, let me wrap up with, I just love the way people have potential to show up. It's far more greater than anybody ever could imagine. Wherever we think our potential is, it's always just a bit further. And that never ends. That's infinite. When we understand our love in the moment, we can truly start to see how our divinity, our love, can spread to everybody, no exceptions. So again, I'd just like to thank everyone for showing up and giving me this chance to share just a little bit about what I've seen about myself. And the truth in that is the truth what lies within us all.
Thank you, Derek.
Thank you, Derek.
I will give another small break to Rachel, and then we will have a break of 10 minutes. And again, just hearing you, and the word peace of mind means in Hebrew, voga, and the word moment means rega. So the word moment is included in the word peace of mind. Thank you for reminding us. Thank you for the simplicity. Mm. We will take a 15 minutes break. Yeah, or 10 is enough. What do you think? Yeah. Okay. We will take 10 minutes break. We will come back at 6:05 for questions and sharings. And if you have questions of how, what, we will be very, very happy to hear. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone. Coming back.
Mm. Okay. So slowly we will be very, very happy to read your questions. You can write it in Russian, you can write it in Hebrew, you can write it in English. And slowly, me and Yael, we will present the questions to our guests. You can share things that you found reasonable, logical for you, questions that you have. Mm. But I will ask. I have a question. So the first question I heard in the last few days is how I'm really overwhelmed, yes, or in a despair. How do I go to this present moment, to this peace of mind? I will see.
Thank you. Thank you for your question. It's really a good question, Jenny. What about when I'm feeling overwhelmed, despairing? How is it possible to be present? It's strange to discover that it's harder to keep thinking about something that in a way that creates more stress, more overwhelm than it is to be present, which takes no energy, no activity, no effort. No one can do presence. We can only be presence. No, there are lots and lots of hints in wisdom teaching. Lots of hints. Like, listen. I've worked with people. Listening is a metaphor for being fully present because you can't think and listen at the same time. And I've worked with people who are in despair and overwhelmed. And I say, just listen to me for 1 minute. And they go, okay. See, they've never been, that's a hint. Listening is a hint on walking around in a state of listening. We can't listen and think at the same time. Here's another hint. Open your eyes and look around. Be aware of what's around you. You can't be thinking and be aware of what's around you. I look out my window, I see a car, I see my computer, I see my books. I can't see those things while I'm thinking. That's another hint. Look up, look around. Stop focusing on what you're thinking about. Stop focusing. Another hint, stop focusing on anything that's already happened. Stop thinking about the past. If you think about the past, that thinking most often creates upset. We can't find that peace of mind thinking about the past. Here's another hint. Don't worry about the future because you have no idea what's going to happen in the future. And a lot of the thinking about the future we do creates anxiety. So that's a hint. It's been given by teachers for centuries. Don't think about the past. Don't think about the future. One more hint. There are many, many hints. One more hint. Just rest. If you feel overwhelmed, just rest feeling overwhelmed. Just rest your mind. Relax your mind. Rest. If you're feeling fearful, just rest in fear. Don't try and fix it, stop it, change it. There's nothing wrong with it. Just rest. Rest more and more deeply with what is as it is. Just rest. Just rest. Nothing to figure out. Nothing to think about. Just rest. Just be. That's a hint. And at some point, you'll find for yourself what it is to be fully present, to let go of everything you're thinking, everything, just for a moment. Just for a moment, just for a moment, be at peace, rest. Eric would like to be unmuted so he can say something here.
Yeah, thank you for that, Dickin. And thank you for that question, Jenny. And I love the way you just said that as well, Dickin. When you can just be at peace, and to just be at peace in the present, we sort of think that might indicate if we're overwhelmed and we're at peace with it, then that could tell us that we don't care, or we don't care about what's going on. So we try to dig in more into it to show ourselves that we care. But if that just produces more feeling of overwhelm, then we just know that that's not leading us to the peace of mind. So to find some form of peace within that space, because a lot of the time we always look outwardly and think we can find a solution from looking into it. And if we don't find the solution, or if we don't wanna, if we can't find a solution, or we're told not to look for a solution, then it's like we're told we don't care, or we feel we don't care. If we follow our feelings and just know that the more we settle and get into that peace of mind state, that's where the answers come from. It doesn't come from that overwhelmed feeling. And like Deacon said, it's okay, because we all follow our thinking sometimes, and that leads to a feeling of overwhelm. But if we know that no answers are going to come from that space, just like we're here now, whatever's going on outside of the walls of wherever you are now, whatever going outside of the walls, what's going on for me, that's outside there for now. I'm here in this space. And what's going on out there is still going to be going on. And I still have care. But I have a bit more care for myself. To know if I don't like those feelings of overwhelm, then I can find peace. And the answers will come from that peace. Not getting involved in the content.
I'd like to add that there is nothing wrong with any feeling you have. We're not interested in having you feel bad about what you're feeling, or try and feel peaceful, or try and be happy, or we're not saying that at all. The paradox is when you don't resist anything you're feeling, your mind's at rest. When you don't judge what you're feeling, your mind's at peace. If you're sad, you be sad. But I've seen over and again, and with me and with people I'm talking to, we can have any feeling, and at any moment, we're either present to that feeling or we're thinking while we're in that feeling. Suffering is created when we're thinking, when we feel fearful, sad, hurt, angry. Psychological suffering is created when we think while we're feeling those things. If you feel any of those feelings without thinking, you're at peace with those feelings. You're not trying to get anywhere. You already are perfect as you are in this moment, no matter what you're feeling. We think we can judge and say that I shouldn't feel this. I don't want to feel this. And that thinking makes us suffer. You see how that works? It's okay to have any feeling. With understanding, you're able to have any feeling, and it'll keep flowing because you're present. You're not adding more thinking to it. You're free. Free to be yourself, free to have any feeling. It's a different way of understanding what peace is. It's a different way of understanding that there's a love that's unconditional. It embraces everything you're feeling. Unconditional love. Everything is welcome to flow through. I have all kinds of thoughts and feelings, they flow through. Babies have all kinds of feelings that flow through them. They don't stop and analyze and think and try and figure out. They don't judge. They just allow it to flow. That's well-being. That's a peace of mind that doesn't fight, judge, and struggle against what you're experiencing. Freedom. Any other questions you've been hearing, Jenny? That was wonderful to hear what you've been hearing, what people have been asking you.
I will add, second, I will add just the Hebrew to you and Derek. Your invitation to rest in order to be in more peaceful space. The word comfortable, noach, which was connected to being present.
Mm-hmm.
And the word to rest, lanuach, it's based on the same root. Yeah, to be in comfort, to be in ease. Yeah, if you want to be in ease, you need to rest. So thank you, Deacon, again. And to be in peace, inside of peace, shalom, there is the word shalem, whole. It means that everything is included in peace.
Wow.
Thank you for reminding us. Okay.
Divine peace, divine happiness, divine love includes everything.
All emotions. Everything.
Everything. Everything.
Love that, and that points as well to what you were saying, Dickie, is when we accept everything is acceptable and everything's okay,
Yes. Yes.
we can sort of see that there's not a struggle that we have to struggle through it. We just have to become at peace with it, and the answers will come through that, rather than thinking we have to struggle through it or get rid of it because we're not meant to be experiencing it. It's just like all part of the flow. And I love the way you break down the words, Jenny, because when you break them down and connect them, I can see the connection behind the words, which is just so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It just shows it's a bigger connection that we're all connected to, even through the language and the words that we use. When we understand that the feelings that we feel are just passing through us, and there's an acceptance, there's not a judgment, like Dickens said, there's not a guilt, there's not a, I have to be thinking a certain way in order to show that I'm a good person or feeling. Everything's open to us. And when we're at peace with that, then we can find it a lot more comfortable, the comfort that we're all looking for, with no work to be done, no one to be changed. Just get a deeper glimpse at ourselves and how okay we are. And it's like we're taking things off the list of what makes me not okay. If I know I can be in that feeling, but yet I'm okay, then that's off the list. That's a feeling I can live with, because it's not going to be as detrimental or as consequential as when I thought it was something I had to get rid of. So to just be at peace and in comfort, what the situation is around us, we will feel everything we need to feel for everybody involved, no exception.
There was a question here, or
So there's a question here. There were two questions, so I'll read one first. One, someone is saying, thank you very much for the space and ability, and I cannot pronounce that. It seems I get answers to many difficult questions I have just by being in the same virtual space with you guys. So this was the meaning behind this space. When I hear virtual, I have so many things follow that, because I feel that when we're all here together, everything collapses and we're all here together. I don't have a screen in front of me. I have a whole world right here. Another question, a question that was here. Maybe that's a direct question for Jenny and I, but I'm not sure. I want to send my support and love in these sad times to you all. Is there any support for the Palestinian community too? Do you know? I know that there is. And I think that this conversation, and Dickin and Derek, you can share more about this, but sending love to all, I think this is what this whole conversation was about. That there are no exceptions. There are no exceptions.
There are people in the 3PGC from all religions, from all countries, from all languages. There are beautiful conversations of people in all languages, from all religions. I heard another message that was from the chats. Seems I was able to touch, feel my deep inner being. It's wonderful. It is space, it is peace and relief for many. Sorry, my tiredness maybe. For many vouchers maybe I had for the last 10 days.
The message is universal, that any one of us anywhere in the world can become a peacemaker. How do we do that? First, we have to find peace within. And then when we touch that space, automatically we begin to access compassion and kindness, and we bring that to the people around us. We're bringing more, literally, we are bringing more peace and love into the world. That's how the world will change. That's how communities that were violent and filled with violence change, because people just like you and me, one at a time, began to have the courage to let go of fearful thinking and judgments and drop into this space and access this in this well of being. Access in this well of being, right where we stand, the peace and the love, and to literally bring that forward. I just spent four days in a row with a friend who was suffering terribly from several enormous losses all at one time. And she was grieving, and she was hurt, and she was angry. How can I help someone like that? The universal prescription in wisdom teaching. Drop beyond your thinking to the quiet within. And in that quiet, there's a feeling of inclusion, of openness. This, when we're holding thoughts, it holds our energy. When we are open and receptive, that energy of the universe flows through us. That divine energy flows through us. And that feeling is a nice feeling. And we bring that to other people. So all I could do with my friend, it wasn't what I said to her that was important, other than I love you as you are. I love you as you are. Other than that, what was helpful was just being in a peaceful, loving presence. So we're back to presence. Because in presence, in that quiet, in that feeling, it's filled with divine wisdom. It's filled with what will help you know what to say and do in any situation. So I told my daughter when she was 16, two things I've learned, or two things I want you to learn, two things I want every client I have to learn, two things I want people in the whole world to learn. Number one, we're living in a thought-created feeling. And if you realize that, you'll see a lot of the thinking you do that we get caught up in creates fear, upset, tension, stress. And if you really realize that that's thinking you're holding, you let go of it. So I said, that's one thing I want you to learn, is that you're a free thinker. You can drop thoughts that create tension, stress, and upset and come back to the now. The second thing I want you to learn is when you let go of everything you're thinking and find that quiet within, there's always a nice feeling in that quiet. And when you're in that quiet, nice feeling, you'll have all the common sense you need to deal with any horrific situation you find yourself in. That's where you find it. Derek talked about that. You'll find all the answers. You drop into this drop-in center of quiet and feeling that embraces everything, that feeling. And then not from your intellect, but from your heart, you will be guided. You'll just know what to do and how to do it. It's called common sense.
I love that, Dickens. I love those messages, yeah, and Jenny, because it just goes to show exactly what we're talking about. We have to be open and create this space. And when we're fully open to creating this space, and those barriers of religion, color, any other barrier we can think of, they just fall away. It's such a universal human thing, a love thing. If you've got potential and capacity to love, then you've got capacity to understand what I'm saying and feel what I'm saying and see it for yourself. And even in those messages where I said people have got answers, I wasn't speaking to anything in particular, but we all have our answers for ourselves. We all have that space within us to guide us exactly where we need to be. And it even works with our fellow human. It will guide me as to what, if I drop into that space, as to what's needed for this space. And if the person's open, they will take what they want to take from it, and they will create that, and they will see the answers for themselves. And just like Dickens said, the more you hold on to that thinking or you hold on to them barriers, you could think we're in a nice space, but it's got barriers. It's just not as nice as it could be. When we let go of those barriers, we then see the infinite nature of our connection, our connective potential. And it's where we came from. We came from a place of connection. And we put up barriers as to why we're not connected. But this, what we're talking about here, is universal. Fits everybody. We've all got that love in us. All got the ability to see something, what's right for us in the moment. And I love the you, Dickie, that said that courage, to display that courage, not courageously outwardly. All my life I was doing courageous things outwardly, what I thought would courage to look inside, courage to lean up against the things that I thought were my barriers. And they'll be different to everybody else's. But when I find that courage, we can inhabit that space. And all judgment, everything falls away. And it's in that space. And I love what you said as well. Yeah, I brought out that idea a long time ago that this is virtual and we're all over the world. No, somewhere we are all gathered together, connected in that space, what we talk of. And that's where we live our lives. That's where we find our answers. And that's where we find our strength. When we get taken out of that bandwidth and we can still find that space. And outside our normal bandwidth, it's so foggy, it's so dark, it's so unfamiliar, it's so cold, it's so everything we're not used to. But we can still find this space of warmth and love. And that's what we use as a beacon of strength for others, by just finding ourselves. It's capable. It is capable. All of us is capable. Not one of us is stronger than the other. Not one of us is wiser than the other. Not one of us was given more common sense than the other. We've all got it. We can all feel it. And more importantly, we can all share it. The more we see it in ourselves. And understand that we are okay. And this is what done for me. By definition, I know that my life, if I'm okay, and I really believe that I'm okay, then I truly believe that everybody else has got the capacity to be okay. But they have to see that for themselves. They know it, because we all know it. Like I think I said earlier, the teachings, this is something that's been in me from a long time. From I was born, we was all born with it. But when you get shown it, and you see it, and you feel it, and you know it, the truth is there for all of us. So we've all got that courage to search that little bit deeper. And I used to say it before, I was just searching just past what I think I know. There's always something past what I think I know. What I do know is that it's filled with love. And it emanates from me. And I receive it from others. That space before thought, that presence, that real presence, where I can line up and look at everything and see that it's for me, no matter what it looks like, and know that it's okay. Because I always was, and I always will be okay. I think a powerful way you can just speak and people just open themselves up to get into that space and see what they see for themselves. It's literally a miracle. And when we're talking about divinity, why aren't miracles possible?
You were saying we're okay. And in Hebrew, when somebody asks you if you're okay, the word is beseder. Means okay. Just okay is inside of the order. Beseder. So we cannot be outside of the order of the nature.
I love metaphors. Oh, go ahead, Jenny. Sorry.
Yeah. Say, and then we will have the last question for today.
Okay. I just love metaphors. Each human being is a wave on the ocean, and God is the ocean. And so when we talk about falling out of thought, we fall out of thinking we're only a little wave or a turbulent wave. And we go a little bit deeper in the ocean, and it's the peace of God, the quiet. We're not trying to stop the waves. We're not judging the waves. The ocean doesn't care that there's waves. A friend of mine, good friends, who had 3 young kids, and I was very close to these kids. They called me uncle. And they call me one night and say their 5-year-old son got out of the car when they got home, was crossing the street and was hit by a car and killed. And I was flooded with grief, just flooded with grief. And they said, "Can you come be with us?" And I said, "Of course." And I ran out and jumped in the car and drove 4 hours. And I'm driving, and I am so caught up in my thinking, it's unbelievable. Thinking about what happened, about what I could do, how I could help them, what this meant, what they must be going through. I couldn't stop thinking. And I realized I'm driving like this. And I realized I don't want to bring this to them. Dickon. Drop the thoughts, rest. Tap into a deeper resource. Be uplifted by spirit and divine presence, and bring that to them. So for days I was with my friends, and up here in my head, I never knew what to say or do. I'd drop into this quiet feeling and just bring that to them. Loving presence. At the end of our time together, they could not stop thanking me, and I didn't feel like I had done anything really other than just be present. But that's the best we can offer people who are suffering. It's not in the words, it's in the feeling. We have one job always in the face of difficulty, adversity. Drop into the spirit. Fill up with that quiet and that feeling, and bring it to others as loving presence. And then you'll know what to do. It's built into that. You'll know what to do. My mother dies, I grieve, and I drop in. Right away. I sat down and just filled up with gratitude and love for my mother and sent it to her. Derek and I and Jenny have been pointing you toward this most beautiful connection that we always already have with God. And it's a loving God and a wise God, one that will uplift and guide us if we're willing to let go of our little thinking, our little self, and drop into the ocean, the divine ocean, and be uplifted, be guided. I want my love to become more and more inclusive, so it includes everything and everybody, the trees, the animals, the environment, people everywhere. That's how we can help change the world, bring more and more peace and love into the world from within. Allow it to flow through us and touch the lives of others.
Very connected, I think, to the last question for today.
Yes.
And the question will be how not to get affected by someone else's fearful, harmful thinking.
Mm-hmm. Eric, jump in, man. I know you have a lot to say about this.
Yeah, so I love that last answer as well, Deacon, or that analogy you gave. It's beautiful, man. But it starts with presence, and it ends with presence. And sometimes we don't even know how we're touching somebody else. And it's above our pay grade. We just know that in the presence, we're being provided the right answers. That's all that counts. That's all that counts. So when we get caught up in other people's fearful thinking, this is where I've seen this understanding to have an amazing, how it works truly beyond the words. Because a lot of the time I'm around some people who got fearful thinking or had fearful thinking, and I used to think it was sort of my job to buy into it and agree and appease, or just to listen along and agree certain times. But I know that if I'm present, and I can also get caught up in a conversation, like Dickens said, he was driving and he was caught up in his thinking, and he had to get present to sort of realize what was needed in that situation. So a lot of the time when we get present in the company of others, I can see that sometimes just not to buy into the talk, just not to buy into it. If you're in a clear state of mind and you're not buying into it, that can have an effect on the other person. Because by nature, when we converse, we like to buy into each other's argument. It's something that we sort of do and cajole each other along. But in full presence, what comes to us comes to us. And even if it's just not to say anything, just not to say anything, and take it from yourself rather than take other people's fears and other people's thoughts on and run with it. And that is, again, that is the opposite to what we're talking about, being present, having your own answers, seeing where your fears lie, and seeing if you can get present with those. My fears are numerous enough already for me to take on other people's fears and then work with those. So if I'm present, and that's something I've learned as well, when I'm present, being present, it's not my job to explain to somebody why they shouldn't be fearful or why they should just try to get present. I can take care of myself, so I try to be present. I just hope if I can be present enough, it can have some sort of effect on the person or the people around me. I think it was, I used to get caught up in it so often, and I read a quote from Sid where he said something along the lines of, whenever you're at that point and you're trying to convince somebody of the principles and you're like toing and froing, then already you've lost the principles. It's just to be grounded in your own presence. And then that fearful thinking might not show up for you as fearful as you previously thought. And you just knowing that in yourself can have an effect on the person talking the fearful talks. And that's another reason why I was going to allude to it earlier, why I don't really get into the news and all of that stuff, because it's easy to follow other people's fears. All we have to do is just stay present. And if you really want to get really present, most people's fears will be centered on the past or the future. The very nature of the word present is to be in the now. And you give yourself that present of being in the moment. You know, sometimes that's not easy, but we have to be courageous in ourselves and trust in ourselves and what we know.
That's beautiful, Derek. Beautiful. I'd like to just add, sometimes I have big reactions to other people. And it took me a long time to understand that my reactivity, my upset, my bother, my impatience it's just my own thinking kicking in. And it's not wrong or bad because it happens so quickly. Those feelings I used to hate, and now I see them as my best friends. Upset is just an invitation to drop in. It's a loving, kind invitation. One time I was starting to cross the street and I didn't look one way and a car was coming. And my wife grabbed me and pulled me back and I went, oh, thank you. Now I see my hurt, my anger, my sadness, my upset, my anxiety, my worry, my anger, my rage, my despair are friends pulling me back to the now. They're helpful when you understand them and their nature. God designed this whole human system. So feeling this way is not wrong or bad. If it's understood, it doesn't mean anything about the other person. It's an invitation to drop back into your peaceful center. And as Derek says, sometimes you just have to keep your mouth shut and not say something while you're in that reaction. And wait until you can then listen and talk from that deeper space. But it's normal to have thoughts come in. We all do. And sometimes they come in and they immediately create a feeling. That's not a problem if you don't hold on to that thought and it flows through you so that wisdom can still guide you. So every feeling is love in disguise if you understand the nature of feelings. Your worst feelings are the biggest and loudest. It's like an alarm clock going off to wake you back up to the now. It's not bad or wrong to feel that way. With understanding, though, it's an invitation to have the courage to drop everything you're thinking and come home, come back, come drop in, whatever, however you want to think about it. That's powerful, really powerful. And the more you understand that, the less reactive you will be toward people. You know, my teacher, Sidney Banks, who had this enlightenment experience, he called the drop-in center the ultimate answer. That was in his last talk he gave, public talk before he died. The most down-to-earth, beautiful spiritual person. And his parting thoughts, his dying wishes for us is to realize that beyond our thinking, there's a quiet, and in that quiet, there's a feeling, and in that feeling, there's a knowing, a wisdom, a common sense. So anytime you feel tension, stress, or upset, that's where you'll find the answer. That's what Derek started off with today. The answers are found in that space beyond our thinking. You can't think your way to the answers of wisdom. You can just get out of the way and be open and receptive to the divine flow, the force, the power of divine love, divine wisdom. They come from within when we're out of the way.
Mm.
Thank you, Dickon.
You like to close for us for today? Thank you, Derek. Thank you, Rafael. Thank you, Masha. Thank you, Marina. Thank you, our beautiful helper, Jade. Laura. Thank you, beautiful, beautiful people, for coming, being together. Being in a hopeful state. We will continue in the next 2 days. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. God bless. God bless.
Thank you. So much love.
So much love. You guys, if you want, you can send hearts, send yourself, open your microphone to say goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Спасибо so much for so much love shared today. Столько любви сегодня.
Thank you.
Dickon,
תודה רבה.
it was just like when you were in Copenhagen. Just as lovely. Yeah.
Спасибо.
Mm. Mm.
До завтра. Все. Здесь же.
Bye, everybody.
Love you all.
Peace.
Peace. Peace and
Peace,
quiet.
comfort, and love.
Thank you, Derek.
Thank you. Thank you, Masha. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Jenny, Yale, everyone else.
Thank you, Deborah, for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you all. This was amazing.